Let's go to God in prayer. Gracious Lord, we just open up our hearts and our minds, our ears to hear your words today. Lord, we pray that your words and your spirit would settle in our heart, our Holy of Holies. That you would live in us and work in us each and every day. Lord, help us to make room in our lives for you. Help us to hold on to your word, hold on to your promises. Lord, throughout the Bible, there's 5,476 promises that you have made to us in the Bible. Help us to hold on to those promises and live them out each and every day. Lord, you've been so good to us, and you're still so good to us. No matter what we've done, no matter what we do, you still reach out for us. Thank you, Lord, that you give us this hope, this love, this life. In your precious and holy name we pray. So the sermon today is going to be talking about attitude in adversity. And in last week's sermon, we heard about churches turning away from things that truly make a church a church. The unity and the community of believers. Not polity, not the governance of the church itself, not a building, but the unity and the community of believers. That is the church. It's the people, not the things, not the stuff that's important. We need to hold that close to us and understand that as we go through. There's a lot of people today that we saw in the film last night, how they were holding on to that building and the building and everything until they found out that it was truly the unity and the community that was actually the church, not the structure, not the polity. Pastor Dave was all caught up in what was happening to his building, not to his church. See, many times we go out and we fight the battle only to lose the war. We fight those battles, we pick and we rack and we fight a battle. But we end up losing the war in the process because we take it upon ourselves. We don't go to God first. See, we're so focused on the stuff and the situation, we cast everything aside to fight the fight. And in doing so, we lose sight of the mission to begin with. We need to choose our battles carefully. There is a war going on today in the world. But it's not over buildings. It's not over polity. It's over lost souls. See, winning lost souls for Christ is our mission. It's what we are here to do. It's what we are placed on earth to do. We are here to bring people to Christ. There's so many churches and so many people, and I heard it so many different times, that you can't be baptized unless you're fully immersed. So people who had sprinkled on their head or water dabbed in their head or whatever, well, it wasn't good enough. People that got baptized in a trough instead of going down to the river and going under the water, well, they weren't really truly baptized. But see, that's not what the scripture is saying. And when we look at the Bible, it doesn't say you have to be baptized in a river or you have to be baptized one way or another. No, what it was is the most important thing is not how somebody gets baptized, but they get baptized in the name of Christ as a follower of Christ. So John came and he was baptizing by water, and Jesus came and he was baptizing by the Holy Spirit. The important part is that we are being baptized as followers of Christ. Sometimes we get so caught up in the stuff, the polity of things, the governance, the religiosity, if you will, of the the situation that we miss the entire point. The point is, you got baptized in the name of Christ as a follower of Christ. Not the stuff. Not the stuff. So Pastor Dave did a lot of things right for many, many years. And people took notice of it. And he built up a nice reputation, and he earned great respect. Then after the church burned, he went on to do something very unpastor-like. And in doing so, in a matter of seconds, he erased all the goodwill that he had built up over the years. It made it seem to those people, those observers that saw him do these things, and thanks to media today, it got posted up everywhere. And immediately they said, well, his faith is hollow. His faith is no good. Because he's a pastor, he shouldn't do these things. Very unpastor-like. Very unpastor-like. And in a matter of seconds, it erased all that goodwill that he had earned over the years, built up. It only takes once to stumble before all the goodwill and things. People remember the bad before they remember the good. It's human nature. And that's what people hold on to. See, he let his emotions get in the way of his mission. His attitude suffered, and he ended up paying the price for it. The other takeaway is this: how we look to the unchurched people. I'll say unchurched out here. Those who aren't believers. See, they're going to judge you first as a Christian and then as a human. And pastors are sometimes held to a high standard, put up on a pedestal, which is very unfortunate. Then if they stumble, watch out, because the world is going to come crashing in around them. Pastors are people first. Broken, fallible. They can make mistakes. And then they're a spiritual leader. So what it's telling us in here is, no matter what happens in life, no matter what we go through, we need to have a positive attitude in adversity. A positive attitude in adversity. It can make all the difference in any given situation. Job 36:15 says, "But by means of their suffering, he rescues those who suffer, for he gets their attention through adversity." And if we look at the Bible and we look at all of God's attempts throughout the entire Bible to get the attention of the people, what had to happen in order for them to wake up, what we call a wake-up call, and turn back to God. Famines, fires, floods. He had to give them adversity in their lives in order for them to turn back to God. Because they were so focused on the stuff of their lives, they missed out on God. They missed the bigger picture. You can't get much bigger picture than God himself. Period. So last night we had the opportunity to see God's Not Dead 3, a light in the darkness. And sometimes all it takes is a spark, something small to get something big. See, and that's what we hold on to as a basic tenet here at Grace Street Church. If we remain faithful in the small, then when God calls us to do something larger, we're fully prepared. We've done the homework. And last week, I told you at the end of the sermon that today was the first day of the rest of your life. It was time to start something. A spark, if you will. Something to start you thinking. So what is keeping you from God? adversity, we need to remind ourselves that whatever is trying to defeat us could very well be what God will use to promote us. When we face adversity, we need to remind ourselves that whatever is trying to defeat us could very well be what God is trying to use to promote us, to lift us up. So last night in the movie, we saw God, we saw the world at work, alienating young people from God and their beliefs. We saw acts of violence. We saw people of faith at their best and at their worst. We heard words of hope, of promise, and of reconciliation. There's a lot of takeaways from that movie. There was a lot of small points. And as I was picking out the music for today, you notice the music ties in very well to the message. Because when people are feeling lost and separated from God, we need to be reminded to turn back to God. And in the midst of our adversity, when we think we can't go on, God is there to lift us up, to edify us, to build us up in His Spirit, and to fulfill us, and to fulfill our lives. See, there's an old saying that says that your attitude determines your altitude. So in other words, a positive, faith-filled attitude will cause you to rise higher in life, but a negative, self-critical attitude will only drag you down. So for years I've taught business classes, and this is one of the sayings that I've used for years, that your attitude determines your altitude. So if you want to know what's holding you back, you have to look at the things that are separating you from going forward in life. And I don't care how young you are or how old you are, it's a truth that will play out in your life no matter what. So it's very, very good to understand the relationship between your attitude and where you're going with your life. When we face adversity, our attitude affects the outcome. You must believe that the situation that you're going through is for a purpose. And God has given you the power to overcome it. God has given you the power to overcome it. It's important to remember that everything that's happened in your life, the good, the bad, the ugly, are all shaping you into the person that you were born to be. That correct attitude. Discouragement can rob you of your peace, your joy, your contentment. What we need to understand is that in discouragement, there is no hope. In discouragement, it'll hold you back from the things in your life. But I got great news. If you feel that you're disheartened, you're not stuck there. You have hope. There's light at the end of the tunnel. A light in the darkness. Just like with Pastor Dave in the movie, I know sometimes I put too much stock into the situation that I'm facing, rather than the solution that's been there all along. Faith and trust in God first. See, I'm so busy trying to fix the situation, and it ends up getting much larger than it needed to be. And it's all a learning process. So one of the things I do is I do troubleshooting on pretty much everything in the corporation. And when they have a problem, they call me in to come in and find the solution and fix it. And so I'm used to having that mental attitude to go in and troubleshoot something and find it and fix it quickly. The problem is when you're coming through the things in life, we need to go to God first. And I've been in really, really gnarly situations where I've worked on a problem for days. And I can't come to a solution. And what did I do? Took time, went back into a room, got quiet, got silent. I prayed, and here's the answer. See, the thing about it is, I should have gone to the room first. I should have went to God first. I would have had that answer. We need to make that a habit of going to God first, not waiting for a solution to come along. But it's a learning process. If we can learn to give it to God, then we can spare ourselves all that grief, all that frustration. We often go through life trying to tough it out until we hit rock bottom. Then we call out, God, please save me. Take me out of this situation. What comes next? I promise I'll do this and this and this. But see, we're putting a condition into it. God's love, God's grace, and God's mercy is unconditional, given freely no matter what. We don't need the I'll do this, and this. That's our humanness coming out and talking. What we need to do is just go to say, God, I've got this issue. Help me. And do it earnestly. Everything that we bring to God in prayer and petition with an earnestness of heart will be granted. That's one translation. We use God as a crutch too often in our lifeline. We need to use God as our resource, the place to start, not our safety and all those things. I've known people who appeared to be in an impossible situation. You look at them a few years later, they're in a terrific place, either in terms of their circumstances or in terms of their emotions. Somehow they miraculously made it through what they were going through. The reason? They never gave up. They went into the situation with a positive mental attitude. And if they were smart, they went to God and put it before God, and God will provide the details, as we heard in the movie last night. See, instead of sulking in self-pity, sinking deeply into a pit of despair, they choose to believe in God. They took a step out in faith and climbed out of that emotional pit. I know I'm one of them. And it's only by the grace of God that I got where I am today. When I look at when I was going through ministry school, right in the middle of ministry school, we had the flood of 2008. And my business was down on 2nd Avenue and 2nd Street, Southwest. And when the FEMA guys came through to check my building over, and I was walking through the muck and the sewage and everything else that was filled inside my building, he goes, "Hey, you have the deepest water so far that I've found." And I'm going, "Well, hey, that's positive. Look what I did. 15'4" of water inside our building. We lost absolutely everything. On top of that, we had to pay to get the building cleaned out. And on top of that, I had to pay for all new stuff. And with FEMA, they don't have money for businesses. It's not a dime. You don't get anything. So Lori and I, in order to keep our employees, because we were kind of out of business, we opened up our business in my basement. And we moved our operations into our home. And we took all of our savings and all of our retirement, and we continued paying our employees the entire time so they could die this week. And it seemed like an impossible situation. How were we going to get out of this? a $658,000 loss. But we took it to God. We remained faithful. An impossible situation at the time. And I can't tell you how devastating it is to go through something like that. And try and keep a positive mental attitude. It seems like the entire world is against you at that point. But God got us through. It wasn't me. When we look into the Bible, we find out that Nehemiah was another good example. He had every reason to feel defeated because his people were in trouble. After receiving news that the city walls had been destroyed in Jerusalem, this man of God acknowledged and found profound disappointment and grief. Though pain flooded his soul, he didn't allow himself to stay in that low place, and instead, Nehemiah cried out to God, seeking direction. Back in those days, if you had sadness in the presence of royalty, in the presence of the king, or any of the king's inner court, it was punishable by death. But the Lord answered Nehemiah's prayer with amazing power, promoting the king to notice his servant's sad expression and then to ask what he could do to help. See, the thing about it is you need to understand that the king was not a believer. He was not of the Jewish faith. But the king came back. God put it upon his heart to talk to Nehemiah. The miracle led to rebuilding of the wall and the redemption of God's people. Nehemiah 2:1-8 says, early the following spring in the month of Nisan, during the 20th year of King Artaxerxes' reign, I was serving the king his wine. I had never been before appeared sad in his presence. So the king asked me, why are you looking so sad? You don't look sick to me. You must be deeply troubled. Nehemiah says, then I was terrified. But I replied, long live the king. How can I not be sad? For the city where my ancestors are buried is in ruins, and the gates have been destroyed by fire. And instead of punishing him for having that sadness in the presence of the king and having him put to death, the king instead replied, well, how can I help you? Nehemiah answered, a prayer to God in heaven, if it pleases the king. And if you are so pleased with me, your servant, send me to Judah to rebuild the city where my ancestors are buried. And the king, with the queen sitting beside him, asked, how long will you be gone? When will you return? And after I told him how long I would be gone, the king agreed to my request. God, his power in any given situation cannot be underestimated. We cannot put our human boundaries upon God. Nehemiah's answer was to pray a prayer to God in heaven and to let him go. Well, the king did more than that. He provided him with all the resources to rebuild the wall. In those days, you have to understand what that meant. That was massive. It was not done, period. God's work, when you call upon his name, he will provide the details to get the job done. The Lord can take any impossible situation, seemingly impossible to us humans, no matter what it is, and move in ways mightier than we can even imagine. We can't put those limitations on God and what he will do in our lives. It's by our limitations that we limit God, not by His. So I ask you today, do you live out your lives in eager expectation of what the Lord will do? I have chosen to linger in that depths of despair. Do we have a lapse of faith? Start to doubt our faith. Start to think maybe, hey, we made a wrong decision. We saw some of that in the movie last night. We had people questioning the entire time. But see, when we question, it makes us delve deeper into God's Word. If you notice, they didn't shove the Bible aside. They went back to the Bible and started reading it, getting back into God's Word, looking for the answers. And one of the answers was in Matthew 11, 1 through 6. And they talked about it. John the Baptist, who was in prison, heard about all things the Messiah was doing. So he sent his disciples to ask Jesus, are you the Messiah that we've been expecting? Or should we keep looking for someone else? Jesus told them, go back to John and tell him what you have heard and seen. The blind see, the lame walk. Those with leprosy are cured, the deaf hear. The dead are raised to life, and the good news is being preached to the poor. And he added something for John, who's sitting in a prison cell and yet remaining faithful. God blesses those who do not fall away because of me. What a powerful message for someone who is sitting in an impossible situation, facing death in a prison cell. God blesses those who do not fall away because of me. A message of hope, a message of reconciliation. He needed to hear those words to give him the faith he needed to face what he was facing. A promise from God. Like Nehemiah, turn your disappointment into a petition for God's help. He can restore your hope, prevent negative emotions from gaining a stranglehold on your life. We're being transformed by our actions. So are we going to treat people right even though we're being mistreated? Are we going to stay full of joy even when the bottom falls out? So many people get all bent out of shape and start complaining when things don't go their way. But that kind of attitude only closes the door to God's miracle working capabilities in your life. If we turn away from the situation and we live in the situation, we let that situation govern our actions, our attitude, it's going to govern our future. I would rather have God govern my future than any given situation I face. The Bible says that faith is what pleases God. We need to understand that He's trying to work out the best for our life. He's trying to get you prepared for promotion. And I don't mean in your job situation. He wants to promote your life. He wants to give you the better future that He has planned for you. But you got to stay on His side. Those things that are given by prayer and petition are in earnest, meaning it's coming from your heart. You truly mean the words that you're presenting God with. He will answer those prayers. You got to stand strong and fight the good fight of faith. So if you're going through a difficult time today, I encourage you to keep that attitude of expectancy. Start thanking God for bringing you through to the other side. As you stand strong, I believe you're going to rise higher. I believe you're going to come out stronger and wiser in the process, and you will continue moving forward in the abundant life that God has planned for you. In the movie last night, we heard that sometimes it takes a spark, something small that can turn into something large, transforming. You, this church, this community, this world. My God is not limited on our physical understanding and physical limitations. God is alive and well in this world. Let's get out and spread the good news. Amen. Father, today I choose to have a positive, faith-filled attitude. I choose to bless you and trust you, even when things don't make sense in my natural mind. I know you have a good plan for me and trust that you are working all things out for my good. In Jesus' name, amen. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your